I think there's a worry that if you do paediatrics, you don't know about adults. Paediatrics goes up to 18, 19, and depending on where you work and how the structure works, sometimes it's young adults as well, up to 25. And therefore, you don't do care of the elderly, obviously, but you do cover adults. Some of the conditions are different, but you have to understand drugs from somebody who's 0.5 kilos up to 150 kilos. And that's exciting. I always say pediatrics, 200 time variance on weight. Adults is 3. And we wonder why some things go wrong sometimes, or we don't get things right because of the doses and all sorts of things. Huge variance. And then some of the kinetics are different than everything else. Therefore, doing pediatrics, usually you understand quite a lot about adults as well. And I think therefore it's not so segmented that you shouldn't think I've got to decide it's pediatrics or early on, it's pediatrics or it's adults. If you do pediatrics, a great background to adults. But once you've done pediatrics, you never actually want to leave. And I think that's the important bit, really important. But that teaching, very exciting. The fact that we know so many people in the UK as well, but certainly internationally, don't do clinical pharmacy the way we do. I'm actually just on the train coming here today. I'm marking somebody's thesis for their PhD is about introducing clinical pharmacy in Hong Kong for pediatrics. And I'm the external reviewer on their PhD. And yeah, really exciting to read how they've looked at it. And I think going back to, you never stop learning. Even as a teacher, I think the more learning mind you've got, the better teacher you are, i.e. you critique virtually everything that's coming. I spend far more of my time now, I used to do a lot of teaching at university, I spend more of my time now evaluating people's papers and PhDs. But again, it's still a learning journey. I learn more by evaluating them than I probably do put into actually to reviewing them, because people look at things in such different ways. It's a fascinating career, and there's no right or wrong. There's so many fields. Pediatrics are obviously across everywhere within that, secondary care, primary care, tertiary care. Great Ormond Street has been quite a revelation in some ways. I've been pediatrics in London virtually all my life. Coming to Great Ormond Street, it's a hyper-specialised place. I don't think I've heard asthma mentioned since I arrived. It is rare diseases. It's a rare disease centre, and therefore it's another bit, and it is a national centre for rare diseases. There's no right or wrong. You've so many things that you can get involved with. I was primarily neonates as a clinical pharmacist, and then PICU in my sort of later days, but neonates has always been what's fascinated me. And therefore, even within paediatrics, so many subsets, so many things, so many places to go and work. You can do more research. I'd have to sit here now, in hindsight of my career, saying, always do research, stay involved with research. When a consultant says, should I or shouldn't I use this, to be able to evaluate a paper better than he can or she can is actually a really good skill. And that's what discussing medicines is about. Not your consultant saying, I fancy this, and as a pharmacist saying, let me go and see if I can find it. Statistically, I'm not sure it's the right thing for that patient. And it's having that challenge back. And that's when life becomes very exciting, I think, as a clinical pharmacist. And to be able to do that, you've got to be good at research. You've got to understand statistics and all these sorts of things. It doesn't mean you've got to be running clinical trials the whole time, but you've certainly got to understand the whole research element. And if you're doing research and if you are breaking new ground, well, the one thing you've got to be doing is education, because other people have got to know about it. And so teaching, and that can be fairly broad and general because we know so much more than others, or it can be groundbreaking a way forward. This is new, and I think everybody needs to know about it. It almost goes back to that bit about why did I do pharmacy? And there was that science, that law, and people. And all of these bits bring all of that together. Pharmacy is not one thing, and the fact that the pharmacy world is still known generally as a supplier of medicines, obviously really important, but so much more. It's almost the bread and butter bit that has moved on in practice. Good clinical pharmacy is a totally different beast and still being worked out as to where it fits in, particularly as everyone comes through as prescribers and all these sorts of things. So I think it's going to be really exciting for the future. But again, we've got to grasp it because nurses are starting to prescribe, we're prescribing, others are prescribing. Who's doing what? Do we need as many doctors? Big challenge. Or should they be doing something else? Should we be doing all the prescribing? And if something's highly specialised from hospital, why are they coming back for a clinic with the consultant, really for a repeat prescription? Pharmacy could do all that very easily and probably better placed for doing it, to be honest. So I think the exciting thing for me about pharmacy is the fact that it is so varied. The world's your oyster. And these podcasts, absolutely amazing. I do remember spending a whole day in a booth doing radio interviews purely around paracetamol. And you think, I did my media training for that. One of the best things I ever did. How to put in a strap line to every sentence you've got. And the fact that providing you can make an entertaining story, you won't get ripped apart by the person who's interviewing you, because at the end of the day, they're just trying to find a story. And I think that's just those little nuggets that you get from that bit of training are always in the back of my mind when I'm talking to very different people, particularly outside of the profession, and thinking it's about the way you deliver something far more than almost what it is you're delivering to make a statement and get a message out there.